Good morning, everyone. It's Brenda Quintana, and this morning we are doing a Facebook Live on Casing Tuesday. And some of you who follow me know what Casing Tuesday is, but in case you don't know what it is, it's the day when we take a card out of a catalog, the Stampin' Up catalog, whatever catalogs are current, and we give it a makeover. Now, it's always a specific card, and there's a group of us that all do this. And we have a Facebook group for that you are welcome to join if you're not already part of. And you are also welcome to get on that group and post the card that you have made with this week's based on this week's challenge card. So this week I have, actually it was my pick this week, which some of you might be surprised at what I actually picked. Good morning, Brenda. Another Brenda. I have a few Brendas in my life, so that's kind of fun. So this week's card, let me see if I can find it. It's this one right here. So some of you might be like, whoa, Brenda, you picked that card out of the catalog? And you know what? So the card itself is not a card that I would personally recreate. I don't actually have the stamp set and embossing folder. It's pretty, but it's not necessarily my style. But I saw potential in the sketch or the pieces of the card. And I thought I really liked those little pieces of strips of cardstock behind the focal point, and I thought that might be fun to play with. So I actually, well, I'll show you my card in a minute. It looks a little bit different. It's probably unrecognizable as the same layout, but it is, trust me. So let me turn off that one and so here's the sketch. So you know, with the sketch, you can always treat it very differently. You don't have to follow things exactly. Those strips behind there, if you don't like crooked strips, straighten those little suckers out. They don't need to be crooked if you don't want them to. You can make a more rectangular layer if you want to, and you don't need an oval focal point if you don't want to. So I did take some latitude in it, but I just like those strips of paper behind the card. I thought it was kind of a fun, different thing. Good morning, Catherine and Lisa. Glad that you can join me. All right, so let me, here I am. All right, so I'll show you my card right here, right now, so you can get an idea. So I took those strips, I spread them out a little bit, and I kind of just stuck them behind. I actually did, even though my personality is one that I like to control things a little bit more, this one I actually did kind of make it a little bit more random rather than just sticking them right neatly in row by row. I think it works for the truck. I think old trucks, you know, I feel like they're not perfect. So I felt like the strips behind there didn't have to be perfect either. So I think that really works well. And I love this little greeting. It says, I love Stampin', which, you know, you probably wouldn't give to someone unless they were a stamper, but you can easily turn this into like a masculine Valentine's Day card. A lot of guys like trucks, but there's girls that like trucks too, so you know, you could also give this to a friend. So I'm going to show you how you can turn this into more of a Valentine's card, but I wanted to use on the side a greeting out of the stamp set, so I just chose to do that one. I think it looks kind of cute. All right, I'm going to show you how I made this, especially right here. I want to show you how I put the hearts in the back of the truck right here, because that might be a little tricky for beginners. Advanced people, intermediate people could probably figure it out, but I'm just going to show you how I did it, because sometimes that's a little tricky. And I really did want this truck to be like a Valentine's truck. Loads of love. Remember that stamp set way back? Well, I just stuck those hearts in there, and now it's a charcoal that's loaded with love. Good morning, Amy. Oh, which stamp set did I use? That's a very good question. I'm going to turn my cameras around And this is the Ride With Me. Let me move this here so I can see this. This is the Ride With Me stamp set. It's got the little truck. This stamp set was in the annual catalog, but if you go to the online store, it's all together, and it's not like we don't differentiate as much, but if you just are an online shopper. So I use this truck, and the little heart is in there too. And there's some great little greetings that you can use, but I'm going to use, actually, I'll just show you what I'm going to use today. I'm using the Strong and Beautiful stamp set, and I'm going to use this little greeting here that says, "You are loved completely," and that will go in place of "I love Stampin'." So we'll switch it up a little bit so that, you know, we can make it a little bit more Valentine's-y, or a little bit more like a love card. I just wanted to point out too, and I didn't use these today, but the Ride With Me stamp set is part of a bundle if you want the bundle, and these dies are called the Truck Ride dies. This die right here, it's all one piece. When you run this through, it creates the template for a truck. So this is something that you could make a 3D. So they do work together, but you can get them separately. The one thing is, if you think you're going to get the dies down the road, I would get them both now, because you can save 10% when you purchase them together as a bundle. Okay, let's get stamping. All right, to start off with, I used the rectangle stitch framelits. I thought it would be nice to have a little bit of stitching, a little bit something else on the card, so I chose that. I ran the rectangle stitched framelits through my Big Shot with a piece of Whisper White. So this is what I've got. I'm going to use Memento Tuxedo Black, and I've got my truck on an E-block already. So I'm just going to ink up this little step. And what I want to do is, I want this centered from side to side, and I want it fairly close down to the bottom, because I want room for this greeting right here to come up on the side. If I have this too far up, then that greeting gets pushed too far away. So there's the little truck. While I have everything out, the Memento out, I'm going to also go ahead and stamp my little greeting. Now I've already cut, this is from the Stitched Nested Dies, and so I'm just going to ink that up. That stamp set was Strong and Beautiful, and let me just add that to here. Hopefully it's stamped straight. Yeah, that's pretty good. Ooh, that's going to look cute. I wasn't sure. I was looking at my greetings this morning, trying to find a greeting that would fit in this same space. Like if I had chosen, I could have chosen a different layer size, and then I could have done, I had more greeting choices, but I wanted to find something that fit in this little space, and I think that's going to look really cute. Okay, so before we color the truck, let me show you how I did the hearts. So you want to start off with a Post-it note, because some of the hearts are going to be tucked into the truck. So we're going to do a little bit of masking. This is very easy masking. When you mask, that means that you are covering up an area and kind of tucking something behind, or making it look like it's tucked behind. When you mask right here, I just want to show you, you can see the line of my truck, the top of this truck right here. You want that to show. You don't want the Post-it note to cover the line, because there is a little bit of height differences. It's not perceptible to us because Post-it notes are very thin, but it's still enough to lift off the stamp in that area. So if you put it right on the line, you might notice that there is a little white line in between your hearts and the truck, and we don't want that, because we want to make sure it looks that it's really tucked behind there. So then we need our little heart stamp. Let me make sure that's cleaned off. And you start with the lightest color. I've got 3 colors of hearts that I'm using. I'm using Blushing Bride, Flirty Flamingo, and Real Red. So you'll start with the lightest color. And this is the little heart from the track set. And you're just going to start by kind of just randomly just stamping some hearts on that piece. So you've just kind of, you're starting your design. Then you're going to clean off the stamp because you don't want to muddy your colors, right? And then we'll try Flirty Flamingo. So we'll grab Flirty Flamingo and we'll add some Flirty Flamingo hearts to this piece. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then finally we're going to do Real Red. I'm going to keep these ink pads open for just a second, just in case I need to add an extra heart afterwards. Sometimes you have a spot that didn't quite get filled up, and so you want to make sure you get that filled up. Also, this is an itty bitty stamp. So if you're new to stamping, keep that in mind. When you have a really small stamp, you want to use a very light touch on your ink pad. You just tap, 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 tap very, very lightly. If you squish this down into your ink pad, you're going to get ink all over your block. So I know I do this naturally and I don't talk about this a lot, but when it's a small stamp, you just want to be like really, really light touch. So then you're going to come in, let's see, where do I want this? And you're just going to fill in some of the spaces with some red hearts. And maybe just a little bit down here. Maybe one more over here. Do I want one more over here? All right, I think I'm good. All right, so now we'll see how this all looks. Let me move my ink pads out of the way before I have an ink catastrophe. I used to be a lot better at not getting things messy, but nowadays, I don't know. Okay, so look, I peeled this off, and look at that. The hearts all look like they're tucked into the truck. Perfect, perfect. So, I did the patterns a little bit different both times, but just as long as you kind of have them somewhat close together, it makes it look good. So now we're going to color our truck. And I've got some Stampin' Blends. Now this time we're not going to use the Flirty Flamingo Light because I used that actually to color this heart. I don't think I'm going to. Oh, I might color the inside of that one. I'm going to debate that one. But for the truck, I'm starting off with Balmy Blue. Not Balmy Blue, it's Balmy Blue. Oh, today is a day. I don't know. I'm having a day, but it's all good. I just, yeah. Life changes and yeah. I'll talk about it someday. I'm not ready to talk about it today. So anyway, I'm just going to color this with my dark, and I'm kind of going right over the lines because this whole truck's going to be blue. I'm going to come in with this dark balmy blue. Balmy blue is a very light blue, even though this one's the dark one. It's not dark at all. I just noticed that I did this wheel well here, which I wasn't supposed to do, so now I'm going to have to do this on this side too. But I'll come back in with my gray and change the color up a little bit, so we'll fix that in a moment. Yep. And then come up here and hit this part. All right, so basically I have just turned this into a blue truck for now. So to get some highlights on here, you can take the smoky slate light. This is one of my little shading tricks. I know you've probably seen this before, but you can use the smoky slate because it just kind of darkens the lines. So it's a nice little trick because it adds a little deeper color, but it doesn't really it doesn't take away from the blue. It still looks blue, but now you've kind of added some shading. And so I'm kind of going over wherever there's a line, I've kind of gone over that. Now I'm going to come back to my wheel wells and definitely darken them out because I actually want them to look like it's like shade under there, which is what I did for my other truck. But yeah, sometimes when you're coloring and you're talking, you're not paying attention to what you're doing. And that's what happened to me this morning. So yeah, I just added a little bit of shading to the truck. Very easy to do, especially for beginners too. You know, it's not hard to add that gray on there. And now all of a sudden your truck has like, it's almost like the blue has been transformed into a slightly different blue. So it looks good. It's got texture, so I like that. Now you're gonna take your basic black light. Basic black light is pretty dark, so you just wanna go in and hit those wheels. It's nice to have, not to use the dark, you use the light instead, because then it doesn't just totally obliterate everything. There's still a little bit of personality. Hello, Karen. I'm glad you popped in. So I'm just going to hit the little wheels and color them. Who loves this truck stamp set? I think this is so cute, and I haven't used it very much yet, and I kind of felt bad that I hadn't used it. And so when I was looking, what other Valentine's things could I do? I'm like, I'm going to turn that truck into a Valentine's truck. So I feel like I've neglected this little one. And I think sometimes we need something, you know, a Valentine that could be like not super feminine, maybe, is the word I'm using or looking for. Something that has like maybe a little bit more of a masculine flair to it. Not necessarily always. There's lots of girls that like trucks, and blue I think is my favorite color. So, you know, it can definitely be for a girl too. But if you're looking for something that is more traditionally masculine, then you can get that. All right, now I'm gonna just hit my hubcaps as well. And then the last thing I want to do is, this window is a little bit too white, so Pool Party Light is a good color to add to here. And I'm just going to kind of streak this, like not kind of color it perfectly, so it just looks a little different. I kind of just use my brush tip to kind of just brush over the window. And that is my fairly quick coloring job. I am no master colorer, but I feel like that is a fairly decent job, and it would be easily to replicate. All right, I'm gonna just add this on here and see what I need to do, if I need to do anything to jazz up this little greeting or not. So I'm just gonna kind of pause that one right there. So let's talk about the rest of the card. So I have a card base here, Blummy Blue. Blummy Blue instead of Balmy Blue. We're going to call it Blummy Blue. All right, this is just a regular card base. It's a half sheet of cardstock folded in half. But if you're going to do a more technical job, when you cut it in half to 8.5 to 5.5, then you score it in half at the 4.25 inch mark, and that gives you a nice smooth crease. When you fold something in half, it generally doesn't fold into a beautiful little crease, so you want to keep that in mind. It's always good to use a cutter with a scoring blade. And then I have another layer of Blommy Blue. Don't tease me. Blommy Blue. This piece is 5.5 by 4.25, and I use the Coastal Weave embossing folder. This is a new embossing folder that just came out in January, and I really like this one. It's got quite a bit of texture in it, but it works perfectly in the background. Maybe reminds me a little bit of tire tread too, so maybe that's why I was gravitating towards it. So you just want to take some Tombow and add this to the front of the card. It should match up perfectly, since you know this is like a quarter sheet of cardstock, so it should match up with the front of my card. Now I've got some designer series paper, and this I believe is called From My Heart designer series paper. If it is not called that, then you can go online to my store. The link is below, or to my blog, and it will show you all the supplies. It's the Valentine's paper posted with a blog post, so I hope I got that name right. So then you're just going to kind of add your strips. If you don't want to be if you want to be perfect, then you're going to have to arrange them a little bit better than I did, but I just kind of putting them randomly on there and trying to be crooked. That's really hard for me, but I think it works for this card. And these little pieces are 3.5 by 1 inch, and you need 4 of them. I chose a bright pattern without a lot of white in it, because that kind of makes it easy, a little easier sometimes. When you have a pattern that has a lot of white in it, it will compete with your focal point. So if you're a beginner, choose like a solid color to like the most solid color paper. Like this paper is really pretty, but when you put it down on here, because it's light and it's busy, it competes with your focal point. So you have to be a little bit more careful when you're designing your card to make sure that you don't distract. If this was all one piece in the background, I think you could get away with it, because then it wouldn't have distracting gaps in the back. But because of the way this card sketch is, it's not quite, it's got gaps, so it's a little different. So look how disorganized that is. Doesn't that freak you out? I know it's freaking some of you out, and I'm sorry for that, but we need to get out of our comfort zones. I'm telling you, we do, because life does it to us anyway. So every once in a while with our art, we need to get out of our comfort zones so that we can grow. Okay, so I am going to just kind of lay this out and see, ooh, do I like that? Yeah, that looks good. So I just noticed like this is about 1/4 inch in on my strip right here. So I'm just kind of making a mental note like that. So when I come to bring this back, I want to make sure it's not perfectly centered, because if it's perfectly centered, then my greeting won't have room to fit on the card. So that's why it's a little bit towards the left. I'm still, it's still centered from top to bottom though. I've just kind of popped that on there, and I just want to make sure that my layer is straight, and that looks pretty good. Then I'm just going to press down on it. And then this little guy, I'm going to pop up on some dimensionals, and I still haven't decided if I want to hit it with ink or not. I'm kind of undecided. So let me pull this off. I do want to put some rhinestones on here anyway, but let's do that first. Let's add this on here. There. It's so pretty. Okay. So, right here, and let me grab my take your pick tool, and I'm going to pop off a rhinestone right here. Oh, phooey. I'm so used to using my little, what was it called? The piercer. And so it's got just kind of that really tiny surface area. Okay, so these are just rhinestone jewels. And I'm glad I'm not doing surgery this morning. Otherwise, someone would have been in big trouble. All right, and then I think I'm just going to take one of these smaller jewels right here, and I'm just going to pop one up here on the side like that. I don't know if I want to color in that heart or not. Maybe I should. Like that V in the middle. Maybe just a little dot of the flirty flamingo light. Fruity. Just let me color that in just a little bit. It's kind of pretty. Kind of accents that little loved and brings a little bit of attention to it. I'd have to do a side-by-side comparison of if I liked that or if I would leave it blank next time. But there are the two cards. I think they turned out pretty well. And I think this layout is totally doable. I think if you look at the original card, let me plop back to here. If you look at the original card, you might go, oh wow, that is like super busy. I don't even want to tackle that because that's just, oh, that's crazy, crazy, crazy. But when you see my card right now, do you see how you can simplify it? And can you see the potential? Can you see the potential of how you can use up paper scraps, like those skinny pieces and stuff? So you might be able to do something with that if you have even some leftover paper. So it's definitely a sketch that I really liked, and that's why I chose it, because all the people that are in our blogging group get to choose a card, and so this was my pick. So I hope you'll give it a try and give it a whirl and give it a test run. So please check that out later on. I'm gonna scroll up and make sure I didn't miss anything. And hello. Oh, Lisa, I hope I answered your question. The stamp set was called Ride With Me. Okay, let me see. Let's see. Thank you so much for saying that it's a cute card. I think it works because I think we do need some cards that aren't. It is still a cutesy card, but I think you could give this to a little boy, or you could give it to your husband, or your dad, and it's got that Valentine's flair, but it's not completely frou-frou. There's no ribbon on this card, so it's not got that vibe, and it's got a little bling on it with the, let me move there, rhinestones on there, but it's not bling that's totally over the top, you know what I mean? So I think that works. So if you want to join our group, look for the link down below, and I will be doing a 3D Valentine with the truck later this week, so I hope you will check that out. And we are here during celebration, and I didn't even look up the price of the Ride With Me bundle. Let me have a look at the price point for that one, because if you spend $50 right now, you get to pick a celebration product, and that's just a really nice thing. Ride With Me. So on page 55 of the annual catalog, or if you go to the Stampin' Up store, just look for the link below. You can just type in ride, and I'm sure it will come up with Oh, so good news and bad news. No, it's all good news. But the bundle, the Ride With Me bundle in the US is $52. So that means that you are over the threshold to get a celebration reward. So if you buy the bundle, then you can choose a product out of the celebration catalog. And the nice thing is we've got stamp sets in there that you can choose from. We've got some paper, we've got an embellishment. So there's like fun things that you can choose to add on. So it's a really great time to get rewarded. Get this bundle and get rewarded from Stampin' Up. All right, guys, I hope you have a great week. My next Casing Tuesday will be back here on Facebook in just 1 week. All right, take care. Bye-bye.